the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news at this hour, deadly Hurricane Irma showing no signs of letting up and continues to churn and pose a threat to the Bahamas. Chief Meteorologist Kirk James gives us the latest now on this powerful storm.
The latest, the 5 p.m. position was east of Puerto Rico, headed this way towards the west-northwest at about 16 miles per hour. The maximum sustained winds in there 185 miles per hour. Now the latest track is pretty much consistent, has it coming towards the north-central Caribbean islands and tracking toward the Florida Straits, then making that right turn towards the southeast Florida coast and off the western Bahamas. The cyclones seem to be closer and closer to us on the track, and that's kind of dangerous for us, as we'll see the impacts. We can expect the impacts. The worst case scenario will be Sunday. We'll feel the impacts of this situation, this system. We'll feel the impacts of this system Saturday and Sunday. So all precautions must be completed by Friday, as was previously said. And that's very, very important, because by sunset on Friday, the wind should be increasing Friday night. Saturday, tropical storm to gale force. And if we look at our impacts here, on Friday we expect advisory to gale force. On Saturday, gale force to tropical storm. Then on Sunday, either Hurricane 1 or Hurricane 2 winds. And on Monday, tropical storm to gale force. So you can see this will be around for a while, the effects of this system. Rain chance will be increasing over the weekend, 60 to 80%, then 100% on Sunday, and down to 50% on Monday. Squalls, you can have a lot of squalls. Flooding is a real possibility. Some of the effects, hazardous effects of this system, going to be flooding, tornadoes cannot be ruled out, water spouts over the place. But boaters should be out of port, pretty much in safe harbor or out of the waters. So we don't want any small boaters in the waters at all. Danger to your vessels. Residents should rush their precautions to completion by sunset on Friday, and be prepared to stay indoors over the weekend pretty much. We're not looking for any significant improvement until mid to late Monday. The wind's going to be southeasterly, starting off 30 to 45 knots, and of course tapering off towards sunset.
Now he says Bimini is expected to experience the most significant damage here in the north.
All of them going to expect some tropical storm and hurricane winds. If you look at Bimini, we're looking at tropical storm to hurricane on Saturday, 40 to 75 knot winds. On Sunday, 100 to 145. You could get up to Category 3 hurricane strength winds in Bimini on Sunday. On Monday, pretty much it's the same for the 3 islands, southwesterly starting off at 20 to 30. Abaco, you see, not that bad. On Friday, 20 to 35. On Saturday, 25 to 45. So that's gale to tropical storm force. On Sunday, 45 to 70 knots. That should be tropical storm to minimal hurricane. And then Monday again, south to southwest, 30 to 40 knots.
Now, Hurricane Irma was the topic of discussion during a meeting this afternoon.
It is not a time to panic, but it is a time to prepare. And it is a time to make sure that you have a plan in action.
Minister of State for Grand Bahama, Senator Kwesi Thompson says, based on the latest update, Hurricane Irma will have a significant impact on Grand Bahama. He encouraged all residents to prepare and secure their property at the earliest opportunity.
We are informed that the weather will go downhill sometime late Friday and will affect us until Monday. The worst of the weather being on Sunday.
Minister Thompson says while this is the predicted forecast, residents should monitor the storm closely as the situation may change. He's advising those living in flood-prone areas to evacuate as this storm is expected to cause major flooding.
I want to speak to the residents in the West End area, in the Hunters area, Pinders Point area, and the surrounding areas. You should begin now to prepare yourself to evacuate those areas.
As for those who must evacuate, he advises that while they can seek shelter with family and friends, several shelters will be opened as well.
We are encouraging residents that if you're going to evacuate, your evacuations should be completed by Friday afternoon. But we've also asked for all of the shelters to be ready by Thursday afternoon.
The Minister of State for Grand Bahama is encouraging everyone to listen to all of the major media outlets, including the Office of the Prime Minister Grand Bahama's Facebook page for the latest on dangerous Hurricane Irma. It's Talia Hall, ZNS Network News.
The Cabinet Office has announced that all government offices, with the exception of essential services, are now closed until further notice. The Cabinet also noting that based on the intensity of the storm, residents are advised to heed the warnings issued by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the Department of Meteorology, and stay tuned for further updates. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education has advised that based on advice from the Weather Department, all public schools are closed and will remain closed until further notice. Additionally, a number of private schools have also dismissed school due to the pending storm, among them Tabernacle Baptist Academy and Freeport Bible Church School. Hutchison Ports announcing that the Grand Bahama Airport Company, Freeport Harbor Company, and the Freeport Container Port will be shutting down operations soon as a result of the projected path of Hurricane Irma. The Grand Bahama Airport Company will close at 12 noon on Friday. Freeport Harbor Company will shut down tomorrow at 6 p.m. and the Freeport Container Port is scheduled to suspend operations tomorrow at 3 p.m. Well, the closure of the ports will certainly have an impact on Grand Bahama's tourism sector. Tonight, tourism officials say the safety of visitors to the island is a top priority. Italia Hall reports.
Director of the Ministry of Tourism in Grand Bahama, Betty Bethel, says the primary objective of the ministry during any crisis such as the threat of a Category 5 Hurricane Irma is the safety and security of all guests. She says at the moment there's a total of 700 guests on the island and many are in evacuation mode.
I must appeal to all guests and industry partners at this time that it is imperative and urgent that you make plans to depart Grand Bahama as quickly as possible.
Bethel also announced a number of closures.
The Grand Bahama Airport closes on Friday at noon. The harbor closes on Friday at 6 p.m. The Balearia cruise to Fort Lauderdale has already ceased its operation, and the Grand Celebration into Palm Beach will make its last call on island on Thursday and will not return until, of course, it's safe to do so.
And as for guests who remain on the island,
you will be referred to a shelter, and we have identified a specific shelter where we can keep all of our guests together. But you will be responsible for preparing like all residents would, who would have to be housed in shelter. And by that, I mean you would have to purchase food, water, and any other essential items like medicine that you might require.
Bethel says even though the Ministry of Tourism offices are now closed, a team is in place to monitor the industry.
We will be available to assist with guests where necessary. Please, we are asking guests to communicate with the hotel management, their airlines, the travel agencies that may have planned their travel to assist them with returning to their respective homes.
Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Italia Hall.
Well, Resorts World Bimini has suspended operations until the passing of Hurricane Irma. The mega property closed its doors temporarily at 12 noon today in the interest of the safety and security of guests and staff. According to management, this course of action will allow guests to evacuate safely and will provide Resorts World Bimini staff and their families the time they need to adequately prepare and evacuate. Resort World Bimini hopes to reopen its doors on Wednesday, September 13th. Stay with us. There's more news right after this.